Hello everybody! Welcome to the first ever installment of Worth the Watch, where I'll go over different series and movies to determine whether you should give them a go or not. How this works is I'll divide the review into sections depending on what the series either excels at or struggles with. Then at the end, I'll give a recommendation out of the following, ordered from worst to best. Multiple labels may be given out under special circumstances. All major spoilers will have warnings. If you've already seen the series, stick around to see if you agree with me. And just remember, these are my opinions. We all got them. With that out of the way, this is Worth the Watch, the Boys edition. The Boys is a superhero show. Now, if that immediately turns you away from the idea, then hold on, hear me out. It's a different spin on superheroes that's never been executed so well. We see a different side of these not-so-superheroes. What happens when power corrupts the capes that fly above? What happens when the corporate world sinks its teeth into a forbidden fruit? And we see the carnage left behind from those who remain unchecked. The premise for this show is one of the best I've ever seen. We've seen superheroes go bad before, like with Injustice and countless other stories, but the Boys found a way to make it unique. They made a believable world where superheroes actually exist in by asking one question. This question is what propels all of the story's events. How can we profit off of heroes? Think about what a massive market heroes would be. Think about their grip over us on social media. Now think about how fast corporations would capitalize on that. This is the world of the Boys, where money still remains the dominant force. For now. But this story isn't just about our super-enabled idols. It's a war between the little guys and seemingly untouchable gods. Our little guys are the Boys, a ragtag group tasked with taking down the world's icons of hope. It's really cool to see both sides of the conflict. We see the Boys with their guerrilla tactics achieving small victories here and there, and then the Supes hunting them down and dealing with public backlash. It's the world's most intense game of cat and mouse. And therein lies one of the show's biggest issues. I love how intense it is. It's terrifying knowing our main characters could receive a small push and have their internal organs splattered on the wall behind them. But the longer the show goes on, the more they have to create believable ways in which the Boys actually survive encounters with superheroes. I won't lie, my suspension of disbelief is being pushed a bit in this latest season. When I first started watching, I assumed the story was already planned out, start to finish, because everything was connecting and rolling smoothly. Eric Kripke, I think that's how you say his last name, he's the showrunner for The Boys, and originally he said that season 5 would be the finale. I'm on board with that. You have your story, lay it out, tell it, you know? But just recently, he had this to say. No one in history has ever been more wrong than me about how many seasons a show should go. Whenever the last episode occurs, I know what happens. That is not a statement I'm particularly happy with. So, he has an ending planned, but the show may go on longer than anticipated. The Boys relies a lot on its intensity, but it becomes a lot harder to keep up that thrilling pace the longer they go on for. Even if the ending is like truly amazing, it's the journey that makes the ending, so I really hope they don't drag it out. But I think I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. You know, the show's not even done yet. Season 4 is not even done yet. It probably will be when I post this, but I don't know. I was just a little concerned. There's some signs I've been seeing that concern me a bit here. Moving away from my complaints, let's take a look at what the show does well. When the story is flowing smoothly, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. There's parts of the show where looking away from the screen is just not an option. It's insane how captivating it can be at times. It pulls you in, you know, and you're trying to guess what's gonna happen, but you just can't. The plot is too unpredictable. At times. Not to complain more, but The Boys is almost like a 50-50. Some of the subplots are just so meh, because they keep on reusing old plot points. How many times are we gonna get mad at Butcher and then forgive him? How many times are they gonna infiltrate a soup convention, get caught, and then turn out fine? And how many times are we gonna blackmail somebody? Seriously, blackmailing was cool at the start because it's one of the only weapons they have against superheroes, but man, I don't want to see it anymore. I'm sick of it. But on the other hand, when those creative juices get flowing, we see raw, primal, like human instinct. You don't know how to react or even feel because of the chaos that's just ensuing in front of your eyes. At the story's best, it'll have you laughing. It'll have you on the edge of your seat, maybe shedding a tear, screaming at your TV for your favorite character to run because Homelander's right around the corner. Or it may have you contemplating real-world human behavior. At its worst, you may still be laughing because the jokes are always pretty good, but you'll never be worrying about a character's safety or what they're up to because it's kind of obvious now that a lot of them have 4 plates of laser-proof plot armor. This is the strongest point of The Boys. It's what makes the show. Now that I think about it, that sounds kind of dumb, because what show isn't made by its characters, but it's different with The Boys. Without a few people, The Boys would not be what it is today. And those characters, well, more specifically, one of them, has propelled himself into a realm that can only be considered iconic. Homelander. I'm sure if you're watching this review, you've heard the name before. He is genuinely one of the most compelling villains television has ever seen. You'd expect him to be this super badass evil Superman, but no, not really. He's actually extremely pathetic at times. But that's what makes him so terrifying. What if the most insecure, most narcissistic man was given unlimited power? It's a recipe for disaster. Whenever he is on screen, the show is at its best. There's rarely ever a dull moment when he's around. The most interesting part about him is his character arc. I won't give too much away about it. This is like minor, very minor. But like a regular hero, he starts to learn about himself, you know? He starts to tackle his insecurities. Not to be a better hero, but because he wants to embody what he thinks it means to be a god. Not that many characters in the show receive even a portion of the good writing that Homelander got, if I'm being honest. Only a few actually stand out, and they really carry the show on their back. One of them being William Butcher, our regular Joe counterpart to Homelander. Their dynamic between the two of them is just, it's so good. It is the backbone for the entire series. And Butcher seems to be one of the only ones still receiving any meaningful change to his character. Everyone else had a great start. The start is great because everyone had arcs in mind and they were changing. But as the show goes on, everyone's starting to feel so stagnant. They're all going through stuff, like things are happening, but it all just feels the same to me. Maybe I'm missing the subtleties, or maybe I just don't give a shit anymore. The only exception is A-Train. As the story goes on, he gets more and more interesting. So, like I said at the start, the show heavily relies on its characters. 2 characters, maybe 3, but I don't want to talk about one of them for avoid any spoilers, because he's pretty awesome as well. I don't really know if that's a good thing or not. But remember, the show is not finished yet. There's still a lot of time for these side characters to grow. Okay, so I'm going to do a spoiler section right now. These are going to appear periodically throughout these worth the watch videos because I know myself, even if I've already seen something, I'll watch a review on it. So this part's for you guys that do the same. I kind of just wanted to talk about some characters here and get some feedback. See what you guys are thinking. Let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking about these characters. I'm pretty sure we're all on board that Soldier Boy is amazing. His storyline, phenomenal. His dialogue, it's perfect. And his comedy, it always lands. Soldier Boy, he's awesome. Also, his casting was just, like, genius. I don't know, Jensen Ackles is, like, perfect as Soldier Boy. Side note, did you guys know he voiced the Red Hood in Under the Red Hood? I didn't know that for the longest time. I saw that, it surprised me. I don't know why I'm talking about this. Moving on, tell me, am I wrong for this? But is anyone else starting to not give a shit about Huey? I liked him at the start because he was just a random dude who didn't know anything of the fucked up world around him. As he learned about the superheroes, so did we. We were like following along with his journey. But we've known everything for a while now. And I feel like they don't know what to do with him. They really don't. The stuff with his dad in the hospital was actually pretty good. I don't really get his place in the story anymore. Sister Sage, I think she's great. I think her dynamic with Homelander is really interesting. It's cool because Homelander usually would have lasered her eyeballs out for being smarter than him and bruising his ego. But we see him, he's learning, he's becoming more dangerous because he's willing to accept someone that's smarter than him. Except for in the latest episode I've seen, it seems like she just got fired, so I don't know if I'm happy with that. I don't know where the show's really going, if I'm being honest. Black Noir. This hurts my brain a bit. Don't get me wrong, I really like the new Noir. He's hilarious, and I'm excited to see where they go with him. But why did Noir 1 have to die? They started building him up big time in season 3, and then he just got his guts ripped out. I don't know, I feel like there was no closure to his arc. They just opened up the arc and then they just killed him. Maybe I'm wrong for that one, but something about that just didn't land right for me. But I'm also gonna hold my judgment on that one, because I have a feeling this new Noir, I really hope, is connecting to the old one. Like, I'm hoping there's gonna be a continuation with the story. If there's not, and they're just two completely, like, there's nothing going on between them, or his old story and this new Noir, if there's nothing going on there, then fuck. I don't know, that's definitely stupid then. The cinematography of The Boys makes watching it an absolute delight. They're constantly finding new ways to feed us eye candy. It's always good, and on occasion, it's exceptional. Again, everything about the show improves when Homelander is on screen, and the cinematography is no exception. There's a part where he's going through a bit of a midlife crisis, and the way they film it makes you feel his anger, his stress. The anxiety he feels is forced upon us. They're fantastic at emulating emotion through the lens. I got nothing to criticize when it comes to how The Boys is shot. It's always good. If you're going into The Boys and you really want to watch some badass superhero action scenes, hold your horses. That's not what The Boys is about. It's typically all mental warfare. That sounds weird because it's a superhero show, but that's what sets it apart from others in its lane. I'm not saying the fights don't exist either. They're just kind of rare, but if anything, that makes them all the more rewarding when they do happen. Trust me, the action isn't amazingly choreographed or anything like that, but it's still awesome getting to see them fight because you wait so long to see these characters throw down. So overall, I think The Boys is in a really good spot when it comes to its action. They have some really high stakes fights. They're just not super often. Maybe one or two more could benefit the show, but I feel like I'm just nitpicking at that point. Okay, so now we're getting to a tricky part here. I might get some hate for this, possibly. So, with the latest season, being season 4, people are now just understanding what the show has always been trying to say. The message has always been very critical of certain conservative viewpoints, and now, all of a sudden, people are starting to be upset about that. It sounds like it's their fault for not understanding what it was about sooner, but it's really not. Hold on. Hear me out, okay? I think the best possible way to sway someone's beliefs is through the media they consume. The beginning of the show was genius because the whole idea of it is tailored to a more male, conservative demographic. And that's the exact audience they're trying to sway. The parts that had heavy messaging were never really all that subtle to begin with, but they were disguised well within the narrative. It always made sense. They never broke the plot to preach to you about some shit. And that is starting to change now. This latest season is struggling to weave those morals in naturally. People don't want to know they're being tricked. And they're making it damn obvious what they're trying to say, instead of just letting the viewer come to their own conclusions. Someone might get mad at me for this, but I think it's damaging the plot. I do. I really do. And by the way, I don't even disagree with what they're trying to say, it's just how they're saying it. Of course, for my first ever episode, I picked such a hard one to recommend. There are a lot of truly amazing parts about The Boys, like the mind games, the way it pulls such visceral emotions out of us, and Homelander. And then there are a lot of parts that are just becoming kinda stale. It feels like it should be here. You're missing out if you don't see it. Because it's The Boys. The show blew up. It's massive. It has elements that are way up here, like on next level. But the thing is, that becomes a bit of a crutch when the rest of the show can't keep up. It's so close to being really, really good. But it's just steps away from greatness. If they improve all the subplots, side characters, and get the messaging back on track, then I think it will be a you're missing out if you don't see it. Because it is really good. But for now, it's just not there yet. Maybe I'm crazy for saying that. Definitely, I think you should give it a go. It might be right up your alley. And I'm still loving it. It's just a few things holding it back, you know? Well, those were some of my thoughts on The Boys. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this, so leave a comment down below. Let me know how you're feeling about The Boys, or if you think you're gonna watch it now because of the review. I know it wasn't the most positive review on the planet, but let me know what you're thinking. Also, let me know how I can improve these episodes. Like, this is my first time doing something like this, where it's a non-spoiler review, and I'm not used to it, so let me know what you're thinking. Give me advice. If you enjoyed the review, leave a like, subscribe, maybe a comment, and I guess just have yourselves a fantastic rest of your morning, evening, or night. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Ciao.